There we go. Much better. Dude, Ben Lively's on the mound today for the Reds. Having a really good season.
Yep.
Why is he over under 10?
I think even Chase Anderson.
I'm going over 10 on that game.
All right, you have 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Oh, poor Mercy. Shitty ass Washington.
Yes, he is. I don't feel bad for him.
I do. Washington sucks.
That's what I'm saying. It's one of my least favorite ballparks.
It's so bad, and it's even worse to get to. It's the worst. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. The whole city is a shithole. Some of the worst infrastructure I've ever seen in the city in my life.
And around there, and even under there, don't treat your groin like junk. Respect it.
Yeah. Don't treat your groin like junk.
Buy now at a retailer near you. Grab your shades, your flip-flops, and your free iHeart for the unofficial start of summer 2023.
There he is.
Here I am. I'm sorry. Just finishing up an interview.
What's going on, man?
Nada. I'm hearing you twice. Am I not on?
You got him?
You got me?
Jansen. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo.
This is Doug Allen. Here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network.
Now, what is that?
Yeah, what is that feedback? Oh, you got to. Do you have to mute? I think, Sam, you have to mute me.
Yeah, mute Sam.
Maybe that's what it is. All right. We good? Want to try it now? Okay.
Zach, you're hearing me okay, right?
I can hear you. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Are we doing karaoke in studio?
Nice.
Jansen's crooning over here.
That was an easy one for me. I was able to rattle those off pretty quick.
I was hoping you weren't going to give me 5 Jimmy Buffett songs.
Well, one. So there's a little tip for the folks at home.
Here we go.
Good morning, Philadelphia. Welcome in to Bud Light Baseball Brunch, brought to you by Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club, powered by Green Legion Radio, here live on 102.5 Fox Sports The Gambler in Philadelphia, WDASAM around the rest of the Delaware Valley, or simply download that iHeart Radio app and you can listen to us anywhere, crystal clear, worldwide. This is Chris Sack of Green Legion Radio, broadcasting to you live from the iHeart Radio studios in Bala Cynwyd, Pennsylvania. And for once, I am not jealous of my co-host in his position, as he is in, as far as Gump would say, our nation's capital.
That's right.
Phillies broadcaster Greg Murphy. What's up, Murph? How are we doing this morning?
We're doing great. Another Sunday morning following a Phillies win. All is well in the world. And yeah, I'm here at Nationals Park, high above the field here at Nationals Park, and hoping that the Phils can put another decent ball game together and finish up this road trip with 2 straight wins. That'd be nice.
I know some people aren't happy with the press level accommodations there at Nationals Park. Where do you stand on that?
It's too high. It makes it makes the job of calling the game. I'm not calling the game on a daily basis, but Scott and Tom and those guys, it's a difficult place to call a game because the perspective, and I don't know if people on StreamYard can see it, but we are way, way up there. And, it's hard to tell the difference sometimes between a line drive and a ground ball, like a hard hit ground ball that maybe a one hopper through the gap and stuff. So, it is what it is, I guess. You get used to it and you deal with it. But there are better press boxes, broadcast booths around Major League Baseball, that's for sure.
I've always said Nationals Park is a baseball stadium that looks like a spaceship with parking garages attached to it.
It's funny because when they first built it, and you had to be, I guess, maybe midway up in the ballpark. But when they first built it, there was a really cool view of the Capitol and a lot of the different monuments around. But now that the construction has all kind of happened in and around the ballpark, the area is kind of cool, but you can't see anything anymore that kind of tells you that you're in Washington, D.C. And I think that's a little disappointing. I understand why it happens. Obviously, what they've done here in the neighborhood has been pretty spectacular. And restaurants and bars and apartments and all of that, which is cool. But it does.
The storage container bar. Do they still have the storage container bar down there?
Yes, my daughter went there last night. As a matter of fact, I said, of all these places you could go to, that's where you went. But she's 23, so that's what they do, right? So
if she wants to drink beers in a storage container, she could just come over to my my yard in Philadelphia. Not a problem. We have enough storage containers where you can drink right there. Do it for free.
She said it's a lot of fun. I guess there was a time in my life I would have thought that was fun too, but that time has passed at this point. So.
No doubt about it. Hey, let's talk about our friends, because this first segment is brought to you by our good friends over at State Farm. When you make the right decision, it feels good, like picking the perfect furniture or choosing a good night's sleep over an all-night TV series binge. It feels really good to make the right insurance decision, too. That's why State Farm agent Dave Bavuso is here to help you select the right protection at the right price. Dave will make sure you understand your State Farm coverages so you'll know what to expect if the unexpected happens. With State Farm agent Dave Bavuso, it's easy to make the right choice. Just call him when you want the real deal. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. You can reach him at 856-740-5012. That's 856-740-5012. Individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's dive in here before we talk about the week that was for our Philadelphia Phillies. And is this going to be what this season is meant to be, or are we going to right the ship sooner rather than later? And we'll address that here in a couple minutes as we go out of the box. But let's give away a couple tickets here for Phillies Royals on Saturday, August 5th at 6:05. Yes, a Saturday game, which means you can hang out, enjoy yourself. You don't have to worry about the midweek game that I've been giving it to everybody so far this season out of my season ticket plan. I will be coming home from Minnesota that day as I fly out and I knock off ballpark number 21 Target Field the day before. So I'm not going to be able to use them. So might as well just give them away to somebody else that can enjoy them. So Murph, listen, I don't know what kind of, stuff you like to get yourself into when you're not working. But you have the voice for it. I've always wondered, are you a crooner? Are you the type of guy that likes to go out there? You're at a karaoke night, a karaoke bar. Do you enjoy to sing? So that's why today's topic, your go-to karaoke song.
All right. Yeah, I love it. And to answer your question, yeah, I do. I love to sing. My father has a beautiful singing voice, has always, throughout my whole childhood, and I can sing a little bit, not nearly as good as him, but yeah, over the years I've gotten up on stage and done a couple of tunes here and there, and karaoke's a lot of fun. I generally have to have a few pops in me first before I have the courage there.
No doubt. Yes.
But I this was an easy list for me. I was able to put together because I do have a couple go-tos for sure.
Okay, so why don't you give us one of your five, and then we'll get the rest of your five in the last segment when we award the tickets.
Drop this one, and I'm a huge Jimmy Buffett fan. And Jimmy Buffett, I mean, you talk about good karaoke. If you're out in at a bar outside and you want to get the crowd going, Jimmy is the way to go. And they don't always have all of his deepest cuts, but the easy one is Margaritaville. It's an easy one to sing first and foremost, and it always gets the crowd going. It's a lot of fun. So Margaritaville, if you see me out down the shore and we're out at a beach bar somewhere and they're karaokeing, yeah, pretty good chance you'll see me singing Margaritaville.
There were odds on a sports book today that you were going to choose Margaritaville on your top 5 list. I would have won a lot of money. I would have put the house on it, no doubt about it. For me, Murph, I sang this to my wife at her wedding. She did not want to do the bouquet. She didn't want to do the garter. And I told her, I was like, listen, I'm going to do something stupid if we're not going to go the traditional route. And she's like, well, what are you going to do? And I'm like, well, So I wound up and I did it again on our honeymoon because we were at a place. I was doing karaoke that night. I went it that way by the Backstreet Boys.
All right.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's easy to sing, and man, the ladies love it. They enjoy it.
Yeah.
9 years ago was when I got married. I was a lot thinner. I had better hair. I guess you could kind of relate me to being somewhat of a Backstreet Boy at the time, but that's fallen by the wayside over the years. But I still will bust that tune out, no doubt about it, if the time ever were to arise. I got to ask real quick, because John Jansen, I saved this for when John Jansen was producing the show. Jansen, you got to give me yours, because I know you love singing Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. You got to give me the one that you would sing. What do you got, Jansen?
Walking in Memphis.
Walking in Memphis.
The only one I ever did.
Walking in Memphis says it's the only one he's ever done. And Sam, you could put yours up there too. I'll read it off once we get into it. But make sure you guys go to our Facebook Live, the Green Legion Facebook Live, our Green Legion Radio YouTube channel, or our Twitter handle at Green Legion. Our collective favorite answer will win at the beginning of the final segment. Murph, listen, we have a little bit of fun at the beginning of the show, and we're going to have a lot of fun throughout the course of the show. But it has not been a fun week for our Fight and Phils, to say the very least, which had a lot of promise last Sunday on our show when we were together, when you were down in Atlanta. And, they were set to take 3 or 4 in Atlanta, and we were feeling pretty good about that night, even though we were going up against Spencer Strider. And then, Sunday night happens with Dylan Covey, and then, we go to New York and we get swept by the Mets. And then, Zach Wheeler pitches 3 2/3 innings and gives up 7 runs on Friday night. And it just feels like when you start to feel the momentum starting to swing on the upside, we get hit with a week like this. And it's been pretty rough. And you could see the good thing is the Braves this week, they struggled in Oakland. They lost 2 out of 3, and they've split so far in Arizona. So the Phillies have only lost 1 game in the National League East standings. We went from 7 back to 8 back, but it's crunch time now, man. I know it's June. It's early June, but for the love of God, I don't know about you, but I'm getting sick and tired of hearing about it being early June.
I think that talk is over at this point, Zach. I think you're right. Is it? I don't know. Crunch time, maybe not. Maybe that's a little bit later in the summer, but it is not early anymore. You're 100% correct, and I don't think any of the guys in that clubhouse are kind of hanging their hat on it's early anymore either. I certainly know Rob Thompson's not. He's had a couple conversations with the media and with the clubhouse that it's time, guys. We got to figure it out, and we got to figure it out quickly. you're right. It was a tough week. I mean, what happened in New York it's really kind of a head scratcher. When you look at the talent level between the New York Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies, I mean, it's even for sure, if not tipped in the favor of the Philadelphia Phillies. I agree. Maybe I'm being a little bit of a homer there, but certainly the domination that the Mets have had over the Phillies is almost impossible to figure out. This is baseball. It's not supposed to be that one-sided. It rarely is that one-sided, and especially two teams that have a rivalry, two teams that know each other, two teams that have similar talent. The imbalance between the Phillies and the Mets on the field right now is remarkable, and I don't have an explanation for it. And it's frustrating, and I know it's frustrating for the guys in that clubhouse. Certainly, it's frustrating for the fans to watch. They need to figure that out, because that could be the reason that they don't make the postseason this year. They can't figure out how to beat the Mets on a much more consistent basis. So, they played well in Atlanta. They played decent in Atlanta, and they got 2 out of 4 down there. And hopefully they get 2 out of 3 here in Washington. But, you're still going to come home on the road trip, even with a win today at 4-6. And I think when we left on this particular trip with 10 games in front, you thought to yourself, 5-5, okay, 6-4 would be great. And they're not going to get there again. So it is disappointing for sure.
Are the Phillies aware of their struggles against the Mets? Like, is it something that you could tell, like being around the team, being in the clubhouse, around the guys, is their frustration level at the same peak as ours, is watching it as fans, knowing that we're getting handled? I mean, 4-15 last year against the Mets. We're starting out 0-3 this year, and previously before that, the Mets have had our number for it feels like the last 5-6 years now. Regardless of how talented they are, how talented we are, it just feels like, and we talked about this on the show last week, Murph, about how competitive the Phillies have been against the Braves since the end of 2018. 39-39 now. I mean, the Phillies have played the Braves tighter and better than any other team in Major League Baseball since the end of 2018, but we just can't seem to get it done against the Mets. And it's not like, the Mets, we faced Scherzer in the last game of that series, but it's not like they went Scherzer, Verlander. You look at their lineup, it's like once you get past Alonso, I looked at the 5 through 9, I'm like, who are some of these guys? And it's just, Mark Hanna,
they're the ones that killed it.
This guy kills us every single time, especially Nola.
Yeah. It's funny because they held Pete Alonso in check. For the most part, they held Lindor in check. For the most part, they did a good job against Nimmo. And those are guys that you think, all right, if they're going to be hot, that lineup can be pretty good. But it was the guys at the bottom of the lineup that continue. And I think if you go back last year, I mean, certainly Pete Alonso killed the Phillies last year. But also that back end of the lineup did their damage as well. To answer your original question, I do think one thing that fans have to keep in mind, this idea that the players aren't as frustrated as the fans is just incorrect. That is a group of guys down there that are beyond frustrated, and they're talking to one another about it all the time. I had an interesting conversation with Garrett Stubbs, I guess when we first arrived here in DC, and we were talking a little bit about, actually maybe it was when we were in New York. I forget, but we were talking just about that particular topic. And he said, look, we're in there all of the time going, guys, we got to figure this out. This is not acceptable. Look around. The talent in this room, we are better than this. I mean, these are the conversations the players are having with one another. And, it's not like they don't understand, and it's not as if they don't care. They certainly do. And again, I asked Garrett if it was a positive or a negative that they were able to do what they did last year, to make a run at the World Series after being, 10 games under 500 this time of the year last year. I said, is that a positive because you can look back and draw on that experience, or is it a negative because you're kind of hanging your hat on it? You know what I mean? And I thought the answer was interesting. He looks at it as a positive because he said, at the end of the day, we know, for the most part, the group of guys is a very similar group of guys. We know we have the ability to make a run. The problem is we just don't know when it's going to start. And he said, we needed to start now. And hopefully today they get another win. They come home. They play Detroit. They play against them well. Then the Dodgers are coming to town. But it needs to start now. They need to start winning series again, and they need to start putting a win streaks together, 4 out of 5, 6 out of 7 kind of thing. And they need to do that a lot more consistently going through June and July and August.
Yesterday was the 1 year anniversary of the Phillies firing Joe Girardi and making interim manager Rob Thompson at the time. Listen, after 58 games last season, the Phillies were 29-29. This year, they're 26-32. So they're a little bit more behind the 8 ball as compared to last year, right around this time. There's been a lot of criticism, listen to sports talk radio, throughout the course of the week. I've actually turned it off and been listening to more rock and roll than radio stations this week. But and I'm saying that we're on a sports talk radio show, but I had to kind of get away from it and unplug myself from it because, people trying to call for the head of Rob Thompson 1 year after the fact is a little insane to me. I mean, like I get Dave Dombrowski, no, absolutely. And Murph, I look at it from this context too. What manager in their right mind is going to want to take this job when the last 2 got canned within a year of each other? If that were the case, there's no stability to try and get yourself through the rough waters. I mean, I think Girardi had the 2020 season, 2021, and the beginning of part of last year, so it made sense. But man, it is just completely asinine. The sports takes from some of the hosts as well as the callers to these stations that Rob Thompson has lost his touch. You're around the team every day. You could sense his frustration, and he's really trying to get the wheels turning in that clubhouse. This is from what I read with Rob too, and I think it was right after the Mets series, and he was saying about how these guys are grinding day in and day out. Maybe they need to take a day and kind of get away from the grind, because it's kind of like your final exams in school. Like when you're doing too much with it, you tend to overthink it and overdo it. Maybe they just need to take a step back and maybe not do batting practice one day. Just kind of take a step back from it and just allow yourself to rediscover it naturally. What's your thought on Topper and on that side of things?
Okay, so first of all, John Jansen, mark the tape. Chris Sack, the voice of reason, here on this Sunday afternoon. Everything you just said, yes, 1,000 times. First of all,
hold on, cut that, Jansen. Cut
that. It hasn't been a year since Rob Thompson. I mean, it's been a year since he took over, but it's only been 6 months since he led him to the World Series. It's you use the word asinine. I will agree wholeheartedly. The idea that that is the issue here. It is not. The issue here is that the guys that you need to play at a high level, for the most part, have not played at a high level. And I still believe here on June the 4th, that is going to change. There's plenty of time for that to change. And I think it will. I don't know what the numbers are, but they're about 3.5 games out of the wild card right now. They're 8 games.
4.5.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And then the Braves. I mean, again, to me, it's way too early to even be looking at that kind of thing. The team just needs to play better. And every single guy in that clubhouse, coaches, players, training staff, will tell you the exact same thing. And it's not rocket science. If they don't play better, they won't make the postseason. If they play better, they probably will make the postseason. And if I had to bet right now, I think they're going to play better. And they're, like I said, there's so much talent down there. And this idea that Rob has lost his touch, or that Dave Dombrowski all of a sudden doesn't know what he's doing, I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's borderline. Well, it's ridiculous, and I'll leave it at that. So I don't have time for that kind of nonsense. I really don't, and it just makes me shake my head and move on when I hear stuff like that.
I'm just glad that I'm not the one that's stoking the nonsense. It's funny. My wife yesterday, we were over at my parents' house, and she's like, if they don't win this game today, Chris is probably going to go off the rails tomorrow. And my dad's like, Murph will keep him in check.
Hey, I didn't have to. Big picture is the way to look at a baseball season, and It hasn't been pretty so far. This picture that we've gotten, but again, there's time. There's time. And if at the end of the season, if we're in September and they're not in the postseason hunt, I'll be surprised. But at that point, that's when you can start to say, okay, why? What were the reasons? And I still think it's going to be inside that clubhouse and probably at the feet of the players at that point. But at that point, if you want to start asking questions, okay, but not now. Not now.
The National League right now is completely jam-packed too. Everybody is contending for a spot. The Phillies are 4.5 out of a wild card spot right now, and in the last place team in the National League, the St. Louis Cardinals, are 6 out. So really, all it takes is 1 week out of any of these teams, and they're in a wild card spot. So anything can happen. You just got to stay confident and stay consistent. And like you said, they have to get today. They have to win today, and then they have to come home and they have to handle their business against the Tigers, and then we go in against the Dodgers, and we got to take 2 or 3 out of that series. But
the Dodgers
don't hang out alone in the man cave for baseball this season. Try hanging out at Cheerleaders with sexy entertainers, $4 domestic beers, Jameson specials, and awesome game day experiences all season long. That's right. Stop in before, during, or after the game, not only to see your favorite entertainers, but also your chance to have the best game day experience. Cheerleaders is open daily from noon until 2 a.m. Coming up on the other side, we need to get an injury report on some of our fighting Phils, and we're going to go around the league. And man, there is some weird stuff going on in Major League Baseball and outside of Major League Baseball. We're going to actually have a hockey topic in the Around the League segment right here on Bud Light Baseball Brunch on 102.5 Fox Sports The Gambler. We'll be right back after this. Thanks, Mike. It's the line change with John Jansen.
I hope you're not going to ask me a hockey question.
Was he? Wherever you need me?
Was it? I just said I hope you're not going to ask me a hockey question. Although I do know that the series is 1-0 in favor of Las Vegas right now, right?
Yeah, it's not necessarily a hockey question. It's something that will happen if the Golden Knights win the series.
We'll have 2 very happy players in our clubhouse.
You'll have 2 happy players in your clubhouse, but there will be a whole group of players for the Golden Knights that'll be very happy as well.
Okay.
You'll find out. I'll say it towards the end of the segment.
I'm intrigued.
As am I. For your input. Do. You right there, buddy?
Yup.
So how long you here till today?
I right after the show.
Somehow you'll survive.
Well, I will. I don't know if I will.
I will survive.
All right, we got 50 seconds.
50. 5-0. 5-0. 15 seconds. 15.
seconds.
Time we say 15 now. It's 10. 10.
No, now it's 5.
Oh! Welcome back. Second segment here on this beautiful Sunday in the Delaware Valley. Hopefully it's just as beautiful down there in Washington, D.C. for our Fightin' Phils as we look to pick up another W back-to-back. That's called a win streak. Hopefully the Phillies can pull that off today down in our nation's capital. This segment's brought to you by our friends at the Ludlam Hotel in Seattle City at 4000 Landis Avenue in Seattle City. Yes, it's the Old La Costa, and it's that time of year to get back down to the shore and enjoy yourself. The hotel is open year-round, and all guests enjoy free Wi-Fi, one free parking spot per room, and complimentary beach tags for all registered adults. Walking distance to everything. Check them out at ludlamhotel.com. That's Ludlam, Ludlam, hotel.com, or call them at 609-263-7829. That's 609-263-7829. For all your reservation, dining, or entertainment questions, the Ludlam Hotel, your new oasis in Seattle City. All right, Murph, let's get an injury report here because we've had some happenings going on with our Fightin' Phils. Hopefully we're getting them back on the field soon. So let's go over a couple things before we get around the league and have some topics here. God, the world of baseball just continues. It's a gift that keeps on giving the whole year, Clark. But let's get an update. Jose Alvarado had a rehab assignment in Lehigh Valley last night. Tell us how he worked out.
You just froze there. I'm assuming you just asked about Jose Alvarado.
Jose Alvarado, yes.
But
yes.
Yeah, from all accounts, pretty darn good last night for Jose Alvarado at the Lehigh Valley. I didn't go back and look at his numbers, but I did see a couple of highlights. I know he had a strikeout in his first batter. He was only going to pitch one inning, and as long as the results are important, obviously I think he was touching 97, 98 yesterday, but the results are important, but most important is the report they'll get today, and that is how does he feel coming out of that. I think we expect that he'll be just fine, probably do one more rehab start down there in the Lehigh Valley and be back. So that won't happen today. Could happen tomorrow, I guess. And then perhaps we see Jose back and active as early as game 2 or 3 of the Detroit series.
Awesome. It'd be great to have that big gun at the back end of the bullpen once again. Sure. The bullpen's pitched well. It really has. Brogdon giving up that run the other night in an 8-7 game, the 8-7 loss, and Dylan Covey. We'll see how much longer he's on the team beyond yesterday or before Alvarado comes back. Alec Boehm was placed on the 10-day IL. I guess it was his right hamstring strain going on there. Hamstrings are fickle. They're not something that you really want to mess with. But is this something that we're looking at with Boehm being out for short term, or is this going to be a long-term thing?
Well, I think they believe it'll be short term. Again, you never know. As you pointed out, the hamstring can be a fickle injury for sure. But, they when they put him on the IL, they made it retroactive a couple days prior, and they said they expected it to be a short stint on the injured list. So hopefully he's back in the 10-day period and back out on the field, and probably at that point wouldn't need to go out and make a rehab start, I wouldn't think, having only missed a short period of time. So I think the thought process at this point is get him off his feet, knock out the tightness that he had in that hamstring with a couple of days rest, and then bring him back, and hopefully he's healthy for the rest of the season. So it certainly nothing that the team is overly concerned about, and you just hope that it, does its natural progression, heals itself in the next couple of days, and he's back sooner than later.
And Taijuan Walker left his start early velocity issues on Thursday against the Mets. You figured against his former team, he'd want to, show them, stick it to them like, hey, this is what you decided to let go. But his fastball velocity was down. So he was struggling that day. Are we going to miss him in his next start? Is he going to make his next turn through the rotation? Because if we miss anybody now in the starting rotation, the way things are going, the Phillies are in big trouble. I mean, as we've seen, they had to do a bullpen game the last couple times. The fifth spot in the rotation turns around. They're 2-9 this season when the fifth spot in the rotation is there now after yesterday's W. So I guess is a two-part question here. Taijuan Walker, is he going to miss any time? His next spot in the rotation, and how come we're not letting maybe Mick Abel or Griff McGarry go through some growing pains up here and take over that fifth starter role and just throw them to the fire and let's see what they can do out there?
Yeah, I mean, the latter part of the question first. Those guys they're just not ready yet. Mick is, I believe, is still being stretched out at this point. I think his last start, maybe he went 3 innings or something like that. So he's not even, quite ready to pitch as a starting pitcher. And I think Griff is, he's had some good success so far, and he's had some games where he hasn't had success as well. I mean, these are young guys, and they just don't want to rush them. Andrew Painter is a little bit of a different story. He's kind of, that unicorn, that unique guy that we look at and think, okay, he could jump up here and pitch at age 19, 20, 21 kind of thing and have success. But obviously his injury has kept him from being able to do that. So those guys aren't ready yet. Dave Dombrowski addressed that earlier this week, and he said, they're just not an option at this point. Not to say they won't be an option, 3 or 4 weeks from now, but at this moment, they're not really options. They're still trying to figure out what the rest of their options are. Taijuan Walker is fine. He came out of that game. We wondered perhaps if there was something ailing him. They were very quick to say, nope. Taijuan said it right after the game. Rob said it right after the game. Rob said it again yesterday, because he continues to be asked about it. Taijuan's fine. There's no reason to think he's not going to make his next start. So, which is good news. I mean, to your point, they need these guys to be making their starts. There's just so many innings to cover and not enough arms right now to do it. And that's kind of where they're at right now. How long can they stay with the bullpen situation? I mean, it certainly worked well yesterday, right? I mean, the guys pretty much through, pitched very well, but it is a difficult thing to do because if you get a short outing from a starter at any point leading into the bullpen game, it really does change lots of things. So if you knew you were going to get 6-7 innings from all your starters every fifth day, you probably could do a bullpen game, but you just don't know that. So it makes it a little bit more challenging. I talked to Dave Dombrowski on Tuesday, and the first thing he said to me was, we've got to figure out our fifth starter spot. That was a quote. We have to figure the fifth starter spot out. They're trying, they're working on it, but there are limited options out there for sure. So, hopefully the Phillies can weather the storm and get through this particular time and then figure out that fifth spot option. But right now it's a challenge for Rob Thompson and his staff.
Absolutely is. All right, so let's get into some around the league stuff here. And now I want to start out in South Philadelphia, where the Phillies announced this week that Hall of Fame third baseman Scott Rowland, former GM John Quinn, and former owner Rully Carpenter will be inducted into the team's Wall of Fame this summer. However, Rowland won't be inducted on Alumni Weekend like every other Wall of Famer over the years, as the celebration will take place on September 22nd. First off, this is long overdue for Rowland, in my opinion. Rowland was a great player here. He said what other players had said over the years and over the course of time. Actually, Curt Schilling is on the Wall of Fame, and Curt Schilling is like, he said worse things than Rowland said about the ownership and the front office group at that time and their unwillingness to spend to put a solid product on the field. But we treat Scott Rowland like he is J.D. Drew around here. I mean, like, I don't have the understanding for me on my end. I mean, maybe because I was younger at the time. I mean, when in 97, I was 11 years old when he won the Rookie of the Year. But he was my favorite player at the time. I love Scott Rowland. I'm happy that he's going into the Wall of Fame, but it's a little weird that he's not going to be going in on Alumni Weekend like every other one.
Yeah, I guess. I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know that? So it's to me.
Glad
it
you
doesn't-
cover these things on Phillies on Deck and the round table.
I mean, we saw about him going on the wall. I just didn't realize that he was going to go in September. I made the assumption that he'd go on with everybody else. But to me, okay. Well, I'm sure there's a reason. I'm sure there's a good reason why that's happening. And for whatever that reason is fine with me. Does he belong? Yeah. I think he belongs for sure. He was a terrific player. I mean, if the idea is you played in a Phillies uniform for, I think it's minimum of 3 years, and had a distinguished career, then you're eligible for the Wall of Fame. Certainly, Scott Rowland fits that bill. And you mentioned we treat him like JD Drew. Maybe we shouldn't treat JD Drew the way we treat. I mean, honestly,
Oh no, that's valid. That's valid.
No,
not the batteries, but
that's never valid.
The venom is completely fine. I've got no issue with that. But the batteries were unnecessary.
But I do, because I think it's silly. But that's just me. That's the way I look at it. There was a guy that at that time did not want to play for the Phillies organization for whatever reasons he had. Okay, well, he went on. He made his decision. He went on, had a half decent career, mediocre career, and goes off into the sunset. I mean, no skin off my nose. I don't really care. So it is what it is, and I'm happy for Scott. I covered Scott when he was a Reading Philly. He was the very first person in my entire television career that I interviewed live on TV, and I happen to have a photo of that.
That's awesome.
Moment. Yeah. Like complete dumb luck. I was so nervous and so scared that I completely screwed up the interview. And I don't even think I remembered my name when I was trying to sign off. I was literally that nervous.
Hi, this is Murphy Gregg.
Yeah, it was something like that. I mean, it's bad. But the still shot that someone a fan happened to take and give to me like a couple months later, I still have. And it reminds me of that special moment. So, look, good for Scott. The Wall of Fame is a cool honor here in Philadelphia. And there are so many different people that have made contributions to this organization over the years that deserve to be on that wall. And hopefully they all get up there at some point. And whether they be players, front office, in my opinion, broadcaster or two that probably deserves to be up there at this point.
Dan Baker.
Yeah, damn, for sure, right? Yeah. So anyway, I'm happy for Scott Rowland, and it'll be a great time whenever he gets up on that wall. It'll be a nice night.
Absolutely. So, Murph, I know you were working yesterday, but did you see the walk-off for the White Sox against the Tigers?
I did. Wow.
Hilarious.
You talk about getting dropped. Yeah, well, as long as he's okay, it had hilarity to it. But I mean, think about that. That 97 right smack between the eyes. That's going to drop anybody, and it certainly dropped the home plate umpire. What a way to walk off a game! I've never seen anything like it. But
I know I've got some good ones for Can You Believe It this week, but I have to put this one out there. Okay, this is courtesy of Jay Kuda on Twitter yesterday. Games in which both teams scored, but neither team had an RBI. Yesterday's occurrence with the White Sox beating the Tigers 2-1 is the first time it's happened since September 18th, 1980. The Yankees, the Blue Jays and the Yankees. The Blue Jays beat the Yankees. The other occurrences: 78, 74, 67, 1923. That's how frequent something like that has happened.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a cool stat, and yeah, crazy, right? The way that played out. But like I said, hopefully the home plate umpire is okay, and because at that point, then we can kind of giggle about it.
What was it, me, or did it look like the catcher was setting up low? I mean, he was down in like a JT crouch. He had the legs sticking out to the side, and it kind of looked like right before the pitch was thrown, he kind of patted his glove down. So I think that fastball was meant, and it took off right into the umpire. Wow.
It had such late life, and it almost looked like it went up to the right. I mean, I'm sure it didn't go up, but it certainly looked like it was rising. And the catcher was set down low. It was meant to be low and outside. Comes up and in, and he was just late getting his glove up there. But wow, that's like a punch from Mike Tyson in between the eyeballs. So
And Murph, this one is. Yeah, and this one's fun. This one's not Major League Baseball, but it's something that you come across on Twitter throughout the course of your week. So non-baseball here, but with the Stanley Cup Finals going on between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Florida Panthers, a Las Vegas strip club is offering the players of the Golden Knights free lap dances for life if they win the Stanley Cup. Motivation comes in many different ways. This may be enough for them to come out on top or on the bottom, depending on how you look at it.
I did see that story, and it made me laugh. Good for that particular business to now be being talked about all over the country, and that's really what it's all about, right? Yeah, a little bit of advertising goes a long way. I'd like to. I wonder if they would get a card or how that would work. I don't want to go any further on that, but you know what? Good for Vegas. You go Knights, right? There you go.
I think I saw Quimby on ice skates the other day. do you think he's trying to?
I can make the squad.
Oh God. That one I had to break out in there for us. But all right, Premier Window Cleaning is the leading window cleaning company in Philadelphia and the surrounding areas. Family owned and operated with 30 years experience. They offer commercial and residential window cleaning, pressure washing, parking garage cleaning, graffiti removal, post-construction cleaning. Every employee is trained, certified, and goes through an extensive background check. At Premier Window Cleaning, your satisfaction level needs to be 100%, as no job is complete until you're happy. With clients like Chop Roberts to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, you cannot go wrong. For more information and a full list of their services, give them a call at 267-534-5198. That's 267-534-5198, or go to their website, wehatedirtywindows.com. That's wehatedirtywindows.com. On the other side, we're going to award the tickets for August 5th between the Phillies and the Royals for your go-to karaoke song. And we're going to give our picks for Sunday's action, as well as Can You Believe It, right here on 102.5 Fox Sports The Gambler. Bud Light Baseball Brunch, brought to you by our friends at Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club. We'll be right back after this. I hope I'm the easiest part of your day, Johnny.
It will absolutely be the easiest part. Trying to park at a festival and do my job there is going to be the worst.
Yeah, I'm not envious of that. I'm going home and watching Phillies, hanging out with the kids. All right, we got some good traction on our karaoke songs.
Good.
I'm in.
Oh, I gotta find. Can you believe it?
Hey, what's up, Steve? Thanks for tuning in, buddy. Just Ko Sirianni. You're the bar bearer, the best. Boy, I guess. So Rach was saying that he was at the Met the other night, and then he played at the Link.
Yeah.
But how many people can fit in the Met?
That's not that big.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, like, you go from that to 70,000. Why didn't you just do 2 shows at the Link?
Probably couldn't sell it. Maybe no Taylor Swift.
I don't understand why 70,000 people want to sit and watch Ed Sheeran or Taylor Swift. Like, it's not like it's this big extravagant.
You sound like an old man, Sack. People like him.
I am an old man now.
Don't blame the youths. Now, I will blame the youths for wearing diapers during these shows. Like, I get fandom, but let's be.
Wait,
let's
hold
be
on.
adults
Wait.
about it.
Is this real?
Yes, they're wearing diapers so they don't miss the song.
What? That's sickening.
Like, I get fandom and I get wanting to go to shows and all that. Like, I get it. But also, let's be like actual like adult human beings about it and not have to do that. You can miss a song. You'll be all right. You'll be fine.
Is Murph a Swiftie?
What's that?
Are you a Swiftie?
Am I a Swiftie? No. But I do think she's going to go down in history as one of the all-time greatest musicians.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a big fan of her music just because I don't particularly like that kind of music. But I think she's right up there with, the Elton Johns and the Billy Joels and the Rolling Stones and all. Yeah, I think she's on that, or at least she's certainly heading that way. So
as long as she doesn't, marry a guy named Kevin Federline, shaves her head, gets knocked up a few times, has mental issues, she should be all right. Yeah. I could take shots at Brittany right now because I know this is the 1 hour of the week that my sister would never listen to me talk. So I could take shots at Britney Spears.
Hmm.
35 seconds. 35. 3-5. Dude, the Phillies are plus 2,600 to win the World Series right now.
Yep. When you're like
Take it.
7 games, 500, that'll do it.
Throw a shekel on that.
Nope. I would not do that.
Or worse,
No, actually, you should do that because actually, no, don't do it because if you did, it would be the biggest jinx of all time.
Not to say they can't. All right, here we go.
Here we go.
Sing it, Zach.
Final segment here on Bud Light Baseball Brunch, brought to you by Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club, Philadelphia. Just gotta let this play out a little bit. It's playing. I want it that way, Murph.
I got you. See, I can't hear that, but yeah,
exactly. Because you missed. Yeah, you missed Margaritaville.
Oh.
And coming back at the going into the second segment, and now he's doing my karaoke song.
There you go.
I'd like to send out a special thanks to our friends over at Echelon Health and Fitness for having us yesterday from 12 to 2 for our broadcast with Eagles and NFL legendary wide receiver Irving Fryer. It was the grand opening over at Echelon Health and Fitness at 130 Black Horse Pike in Audubon, New Jersey. Make sure you guys go over and sign up with them today. Jeff Quinn, great dude, great time yesterday. The venue was beautiful. Make sure you guys go check them out. Again, 130 Black Horse Pike in Audubon, New Jersey. You can give them a call, 856-454-2976. That's 856-454-2976. All right, let's award some tickets here. Go-to karaoke song. You're probably wondering why we're playing Backstreet Boys, I Want It That Way, on a baseball show, which is not just a baseball show. Yes, there you go. Keep it going. Keep it going. Not just a baseball show, it is the preeminent baseball show in the Delaware Valley where you don't get this kind of insight anywhere else than right here with Chris Sack of Green Legion Radio and Phillies broadcaster Greg Murphy. Murph, we got some good entries that we can go over here. Okay. So why don't you give me the rest of your top 5? You've already given me Margaritaville. Give me your other 4.
All right. Yeah, so my criteria is pretty simple. Has to be a relatively easy song to sing. And I think it has to be a song that the crowd knows and can get into. So those are my criteria. And I would imagine most people feel that way. I hate when the karaoke folk gets up there and sings some obscure song that nobody knows, and they're just up there because they want to hear themselves sing. That's not why I'm up there.
It's the slowest song. Like the slowest song of all time.
You can do a slow song, but it has to be the right song, right? I don't have any of those on my list. But
keep the party going. That's what karaoke is. It's the party. You can bring the energy.
I agree. All right. So hopefully you'll agree with the rest of my top 5. All right. No particular order. I gave you Margaritaville already. Johnny Cash, Ring of Fire. It's an easy song to sing. No, I guess in theory that is a little bit of a slower song, but people love that song. People get into that song, and again, in the right moment, Ring of Fire is a good one.
And it burns.
Yeah, it burns. Sweet Caroline. I mean, you talk about getting one for the crowd. Everybody's singing along, swaying back and forth. You're belting it out. It's you can't go wrong with that. Friends in Low Places, Garth Brooks, another one that everybody knows, and everybody, when they've had a couple of drinks, wants to sing along. You get the crowd going on there. You just hold the mic out. They're doing all the work. It's good stuff. Finally, if you want to do a duet, my go-to duet is Summer Nights from Grease. John Travolta, Olivia Newton-John. It's epic. Done that one a couple of times.
Is this what you and Krista do on your days off?
No, it's funny because Krista would never get up there and do that. But I have.
So who do you sing it with?
Oh, random folks. The last time I did it was a few years ago, actually on the Phillies fancation during the summer. We went to, during the winter, we went with a bunch of fans to Cancun, and so one of the fans that was on the trip, she and I got up there and did the duet and brought the house down. So.
Where'd you go? Did you go to Pancho Willie's? Is that where you did the karaoke?
No, we were in the hotel. It was an event for it. So there's like 100, fans that come on the trip, and a couple of our players and some of the broadcasters, and it's this, and they have a night. They had a karaoke night. So some of our players got up and sang, and it was a fun night. So that's what we did.
I like that. Sounds like a lot of fun to me.
It was.
We've got 9 entries. We've got the Humpty Dance. Big Yellow Taxi.
Is that a
Living on a Prayer? I have no idea. Living on a Prayer.
All right.
Don't Stop Believing.
Good one. Good one.
Just a Gigolo.
I like that. That's a good one.
Sound of Silence, and then I just stand there and not sing. Piano Man.
Okay.
Redneck Woman. And one from your list, Sweet Caroline.
Oh, well, we know the rules. If it's on my list, I got to vote for that one. There's a couple good ones on there, and but I'll go Sweet Caroline because it's on my list and it's a good one.
I'm seeing this guy in less than 2 weeks for the second time. I'm seeing Billy Joel at the link, so I got to go Piano Man, which means John Jansen, you are the tiebreaker. Piano Man or Sweet Caroline, Johnny?
Oh, Sweet Caroline.
Sweet Caroline. All right. Congratulations. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say Billy Joel's my all-time favorite, and Piano Man's one of the greatest songs ever written. So I would have been fine with either one of those. But all right, Sweet Caroline.
Sam will send me. Okay, Maureen McConnell. She is a new winner. Maureen McConnell. Congratulations.
Maureen.
Sam will get your information, and then I'll get you over the tickets. Sam also chimed in for her. Forgot about Dre, the real Slim Shady, or the real Sam Shady, as she put in here, and Regulate. I would love to see her sing any of those 3 songs.
Okay.
Be classic stuff.
Don't know the one.
Congratulations, Maureen, for the tickets. I'll get them over to you later on today. Murph, let's get to our picks for this Sunday's action. You went 2-1, only missing out on your underdog Twins last week. So you're starting to climb out of the hole here. You're at 11-7 with 14 points on the season. I went 2-1 again last week. Also last week, alongside of you. Another 2-point week for me as well, with missing on my underdog Dodgers as we went head to head between the Dodgers and the Rays, which was man, what a shootout. 11-10 was the final on that. We should have probably took the over on that one. But I'm now sitting at 13-5 with 17 points on the season. Give me your first pick for today's action.
I'm right behind you. I'm feeling pretty good. All right, first pick today. It's a lock. It's an absolute lock. I got the Phillies today.
There was no doubt in my mind.
I almost never pick our squad, but I love them today. I love what?
Dude, I could tell you, we could go back through the tape. There's no doubt that you're always going to pick. You picked the Phillies on more than one occasion.
Oh no, I haven't picked them once this year. Not one time.
No, I think you did when you predicted Nolan in Cincinnati was going to have he might have no hit stuff that day. You took him that day.
I did. All right. Well, I love it. They're minus 160. I think they win today's game. I don't think there's any question they're going to win this afternoon. I mean, I'm saying that not as I really believe that in terms of baseball. So taking the Phillies as my favorite -160, and now I can root them too.
Yeah, exactly. And you're doing this because you don't want me to root against you. I don't want to root against the Phillies, so I actually have to root for you to get a point.
Nothing to do with that. Nothing.
This is a cut the audio here.
Right.
I never play the Phillies. All right, my favorite this week is the Twins -155 at home versus Cleveland. Joe Ryan is 7-2 with a 2.77 ERA. They've taken 2 out of 3 so far in the series. They're going to do what the Phillies going to do last week in Atlanta. They're going to take 3 or 4 against Cleveland, and they're going to do it today against Tristan McKenzie. Give me your second one.
All right, second one. I'm sticking with the Phillies. No, I'm kidding. I'm not. My underdog today. It's Colorado and Kansas City. Not the best game on the slate, but I'm going that way. Colorado is +120 in this game. They're looking for a sweep, and I guess that's why maybe the odds makers are thinking, all right, Kansas City is going to take the final game here at home. I don't think so. I think Colorado's just a little bit better team, and I think they end up sweeping the Kansas City at home. So I'm taking Colorado as my underdog.
Okay, my underdog this week is I'm going for a sweep in Queens. I'm taking the Blue Jays +120 to sweep the Mets. They've won 3 in a row. Make today 4. Give me your over/under.
All right, over/under. I'm in that game. The Blue Jays and the Mets. I don't know who's going to win that game. I'm hoping you're right. It'll be the Blue Jays, but the over/under is 8.5. And it's Senga and Kikuchi pitching today. They've gone under in their first 2 games of the series, both times. I think they go over today. I think the bats explode today, Sunday afternoon, and I'm going to take the over 8.5 in this one.
See, when I didn't want to mention the starting pitcher's name for the Blue Jays because I just didn't know how that was going to come out. So I left that one well enough alone when I didn't announce the starting pitching matchups. I'm going to go for my over-under. I'm going to go over 10 in Brewers, Reds, in Cincinnati. Ben Lively is pitching for the Reds, 3-2 with a 1.99 ERA. Adrian Hauser is a pretty decent starter. I mean, he's 1-1 this season, 4.07. Why is this line so high? It's just, we talked about this last week. Like, things talk to you. Like, am I that person with a line? For me, I think it's going to be runs aplenty today in Cincinnati because the ball jumps out of that ballpark. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? 2 things we found interesting from this past week in Major League Baseball. Murph, give me your first one.
All right. I don't like this one, but it is kind of interesting. Ronald Acuna Jr. of the Atlanta Braves, each of his last 10 home runs have gone more than 420 feet. That's the most consecutive 420-plus homers in the StatCast era ever. So
that's since 2015, right?
Yeah, since 2015, the StatCast era. So, but you think about that. I mean, 10 straight home runs were 420. That's poke. I mean, he's crushing them when he hits them. So
I'm sticking with the Braves here, too, and it's another one I don't like to announce. This one is courtesy of Kevin McAlpin on Twitter. Spencer Strider punched out Nick Castellanos for his 100th strikeout of the season. He has reached 100 Ks in just 61 innings, becoming the fastest player to reach the century mark in strikeouts since 1893. Jacob deGrom had the record with 161 2/3 innings pitched in 2021.
Yeah, it's a good one. Kevin McAlpin, by the way, a buddy of mine, Philadelphia native, working down there for the Atlanta Braves. So good for him. All right. Finally, we remember the Phillies getting swept out of the first series of the season by the Texas Rangers. And we're like, what's going on? That Rangers team's pretty darn good.
I think we're good, man. They can hit.
How about this? They've continued to be the hottest offense in Major League Baseball. They've scored 10-plus runs in a game for the 15th time this year. Wow. No other team has more than 8, and they have 15 10-plus games, 10-plus runs games. So that team can hit. And they can pitch a little bit, too. They're a pretty good team.
Yeah, that Bruce Bochy's pretty good as a manager, right?
Yeah,
That was a pretty good decision that he made, and they made too. I'm going to go with Greg Harvey here on Twitter. He is at Between the Numbs. Pitchers in Major League Baseball history to be undefeated, minimum 1 win, with a sub-2 ERA and 0 home runs allowed through their first 11 starts of a season. This version is Sonny Gray with the Minnesota Twins, this year's version, 2023, and 1919 Eddie Cicotte.
Wow.
Only 2 to ever do that.
Impressive.
2. That's it.
Impressive.
Absolutely. Murph, let's look at the week ahead here. We got today's rubber match against the Washington Nationals and the 3 Monday through Wednesday against the Detroit Tigers. We're off on Thursday, and then we have the Dodgers. And the programming note, we're back down on Xfinity Live next Sunday, so make sure you guys stop over and say hello. Murph, we need a big week out of our Fightins here.
Yeah, you really do. Now's the time. And I think we've said this already before, but you started the show by talking about it's not early anymore. And you're right. It's not. It is time. It is time for this team to start winning 5 out of 7, 7 out of 10. That's how they're going to, it's not going to happen overnight. They don't have to win 12 in a row, but they have to win 2 or 3 more. They have to be over 500, 2 or 3 games every 10 games kind of thing. Win 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, maybe you jump up and win 8 out of 10 in a particular stretch. If they do that, not only will they be in the mix near the end of the season, they'll have a chance at the division still. They'll certainly be in the wild card mix. That's what they need to do, and it needs to start now. I agree with you.
Absolutely. All right. I'd like to thank Super Sam Brady for setting up StreamYard and running that for us today, and for getting me Maureen's email address so fast. Thank you very much for that. For John Jansen on the board and Greg Murphy in our nation's capital in Washington, D.C., I am Chris Sack of Green Legion Radio, and like a 3-1 pitch to Ryan Howard, we are out of here. Phillies, let's go. It is time. Put the foot on the gas and whoop that ass.
All right. Thanks, guys.
There you go, Sweet Caroline on the way out.
Nice.
This guy's a true professional.
He's a pro. He's a radio pro. Yeah, I can't. I think my computer's dying here. That was good timing.
Yeah.
I can't hear that stuff, but I'm sure it sounded great.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Good stuff. All right.
Take my studio stuff.
I got to run. Everybody have a good week, and hopefully we can talk about some wins next week.
Shaq doesn't realize he's muted.
Oh.
You're still muted, buddy.
No, I wasn't muted up until because I was still in the studio feed. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate
Have a good
you.
one, guys.
See you guys.
See ya.